Renewed Mind Revolution Podcast. A place that empowers, encourages, and informs. We're breaking through, we're rising strong. A brand new mindset where we belong. Empowered voices, hearts aligned, encouraging truth. Renewed mind. Hello, and welcome to Renewed Mind Revolution Podcast with your host, Michelle Kakal. As always, it is my honor and my pleasure to come and share some tips and tools with you that I know will assist you in becoming a better version of yourselves. Today, it's we've been working very hard to get this interview to happen, but I'm so happy and I'm so excited that we were able to find the right time and the right place to share with you some information. I have a very special guest. It's not her first time, but it's her first time by herself. Her name is Shannel Williams, and she is the author of Beyond the Classroom. Now, when we first met her, we met her with Dr. Heather Robinson, and she played a part in Educators Rise Voices of Change, Volume 1. Am I right?
Yes, you are absolutely right. Good
All
evening, everyone.
right. Okay, so we're going to talk and we're going to chat, and she's going to share with you what she's doing, why it is important, especially for now in this climate, and what's coming up. So, Chanel, tell those who have not had the opportunity to hear you speak on our previous interview with Dr. Heather Robinson. Let them know who you are and why you are qualified to write such books about educators and beyond the classroom, and the voices of change in the realm of the vein of educators.
Okay, so hello everyone. So who am I? So I am an educator for over a decade. My area of expertise lies in special education. I am also a trained work-based learning coordinator, and so for me now, it is about empowering not only students, but empowering individuals to be their best selves. And so, what that looks like is doing professional development, also empowering them through my writing and through my books, and also building my personal portfolio because I am working towards also becoming Dr. Williams.
Okay.
So I will be I will be officially still some time to go, but I am really working towards becoming Dr. Williams and putting myself in more spaces where I can help and where I can empower and where I can educate.
So that's right into the vein of this podcast, because this podcast is all about empowering. If you ever heard the theme, is it's empowering individuals to become the best version of themselves. The theme actually says it's never too late. It's kind of corny, but it's never too late to be great, right? And it's because no matter where you are in life, no matter what age you are, I always believe, no matter how many mistakes you've made, no matter what you've done, you can always kind of click that reset button and give yourself a second chance, right? So empowering is definitely what we believe here, pouring out into other people. And in any way that you can, what your gift is. So in your area of empowering those, it would be the area of education, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you stated that you are 10 years, and one of your specialties would be special education, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So why is that important to you?
So to find out why that is important, we have to go back to my beginning.
Okay.
So I grew up as a PK kid. My father was very much in the church. So from the time I was young, I was doing youth work and in the community on his coattail. And then as I became older, he started to peel off some of his responsibilities and give to me to do.
Yes.
And so when I was what was it, about 19 or 20, trying to decide which career area and so I was going to go in, because I'm very multifaceted and there's a lot
Mhm.
of things that I could do and areas I could go in,
Right.
I first decided to do sociology and psychology.
Okay.
And one of my teachers met me because I was working at a credit card company during college, and met me and said, you know what? So what is your plan? Because this can't be the end all we're all for you. So
Right.
what are you going to do? So he was the one that suggested, you know what, maybe look into teaching because, with teaching, especially back home in the Caribbean where I'm from, you
Okay.
get to do everything. So you're
Mhm.
not only in the classroom, but most of the time you are the individual planning the empowerment activity, the enlightenment activity outside of the classroom, taking the children on tours, doing those sponsorship runs and so on. So your responsibilities are really holistic. And
Mhm.
so I started, and then being in a school system where I saw children with many problems and
Mhm.
issues, and the
Mhm.
lack of resources really sparked my interest into going into special education, but also looking at it from a counseling perspective as well, and
Okay.
looking at it from uh, a safe space, or a space where these children could be able to express themselves and also be able to learn that which they were responsible of learning.
Okay. One thing that you said stood out immediately is that you're a PK kid. I'm a PK kid as well. So I get that, right? In church, especially when you're a PK kid, as you stated, like a lot of responsibilities are kind of thrown at you, or you're like almost assumed to take on roles that maybe you would have not just jumped in on your own to do, but over time you develop like a love for it, a passion for it, right? It births something into you. So I can see how working in the ministry, and having those type of responsibilities will open that up for you. It did the same thing for me as well, so I see that. I guess one thing I did want to say before I ask this next question is that I see that you saw a need, and you not only saw this need, but you decided to respond. And that's also a kind of a thing about ministry. I don't want to just tie everything into ministry, but ministry does that. You see a need, you see an opening, and especially when you are in leadership in ministry. And PK kids often are, even if they don't want to accept it, we're kind of pushed into leadership and allowed by ministry. So when you see a need, you automatically are called to respond to that need. So you saw a need in the school system, and you decided to respond to that need. So, what is the age group that you feel your area is more comfortable, or is there an age group that you really deal with when it comes to special education?
So in my experience, I've mostly done dealt with high school kids.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, I like working with high school kids because they're on that cusp of adulthood. So there
Okay.
are conversations that you can have with a kid, and there are experiences that you can create for high
Hmm.
school kids that you necessarily cannot do for middle school or elementary kids. So
Okay.
I think my expertise and also my further training, because remember I said I'm also trained in the area of work-based learning.
Okay.
So within that, then it is more tied to high school and also
Hmm.
school leavers as well, young adults,
Hmm.
and by extension, even change of career individuals who are just trying to figure it out and trying to, look into that next step to pivot into the career of choice.
That's interesting because if you speak to a lot of people, individuals that are even thinking about education, which I have in the past, and you bring up what age group, which high school would be the last on their list a lot of the times, because they feel like it's the environment is so different than younger kids. So a lot of times people run from that, and you actually running to that. So that's
No, I
that's
love
that's
it. I absolutely love it.
that's different. No, it's good because it once again it just reminds me that is somebody for everything, like what is your niche and something that you're passionate about, someone else will just you run away from. And then if you ask you, would you like to do with kindergartners, and then you go, no, no, thank you. But someone else would say, yeah, because they're just gonna, eat some cookies, take some naps, and the basics, but you seeing this challenge, and you're, and once again, I understand that, once again, I think it kind of comes from when you're raised as a PK kid. We're put in a lot of challenging positions, and we almost enjoy figuring that thing out, because it depends on, it depends on the size of the ministry. Some people have been fortunate to kind of be birthed into like these mega ministries where everything is the resources are all there. But when you don't have the resources, because you have more of a smaller ministry, then you become very creative, right, in developing the resources that your ministry or your, or the teams that you're working with, do not have. So I understand that, because from my own experience, we didn't have a lot of individuals, so I had to become very creative in the things that we did. Yeah. Is something you want to say about that? Did ministry play a part in that for you?
So for me, I really had to fight hard to find myself outside of ministry, and it may seem strange to say that because
No, I don't.
I had what I would call a love-hate relationship for many, many, many years because of the level of perfection that was expected of me. So
Yeah.
I rebelled hard.
Yes.
And I remember being, I was doing well, I was doing well, but something just was
Yeah.
not right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, you know what, let me, and it was around the time because my dad passed in 2024, and he
Mhm.
was ill for a very, very long time.
Okay.
So with that came the cycle of grief, and so I stopped going to church.
Yeah.
I pulled myself away from everything, and then to add things, add to the whole my whole situation, I was in another country away
Mhm.
from my family, so there was really no one really watching me to see what I was doing anyway.
Right.
So, and I
Mm.
remember going through that cycle of grief, and I was
Mhm.
doing well in my career. I wrote my book, in
Mhm.
terms of my tutoring and so on, and my empowerment sessions, they were going great, but I
Mhm.
felt as though I was speaking into and pouring into others, but I felt empty.
Yes. Yes.
And for me, what made the switch, what made the turn is that I decided one day, you know what, let me just get up and go to church. And I am not sure if the pastor even, well, I know he did not, he wasn't aware that I was going to be in the church, but
Mhm.
the sermon that they spoke about feeding your body, mind, and soul.
Yes.
And I had just received my grades for two of my graduate courses that I had done, and I was happy for that. You
Mhm.
know, I had gone to the doctor, I had done my tests or whatever, so I had a clean bill of health.
Mhm.
But what he was talking about is feeding my soul.
Right.
And I recognize that that was what was missing,
Yes.
because a lot of times we will feed our body, we will exercise, we
Mhm.
will take the vitamins and the supplements and so on. We will,
Mhm.
and we will feed our mind, we will go to school, we will do every
Yeah.
certification there is, but a lot of times we don't take time to pour into ourselves. We don't
Yes.
take time to feed our soul. We
Yeah.
don't take time to feed our spirit. And for me, recognizing that and doing a roundabout turn
Yes.
made my life more peaceful, made my life
Mhm.
more clear, and I was able then to really figure out, like
Yeah.
next steps and what I want for my life and so on.
I love this. It's I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you it's gonna blow your mind. So I lost my father in 1997. 1998. I'm sorry. And I was, very close to my father, right? And so I too dealt with this crazy grief because um, I was maybe like 22, and so it didn't make sense to me, watching this person I felt that gave us so much of himself to the ministry and to God's people, just deteriorate and leave this world early. So
Mm-hmm.
my mind couldn't process that for so long. And so I wrote a book called This Journey is the Process. That was like my first uh published book, because it was me trying to process and go through that grief. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you're so right, because when you are in church, and I can only speak from a PK's perspective, you do deal with that perfection that you're talking about. And it's not that you're putting it on yourself, it's others around you who is putting that on you. I mean, everybody else can do whatever they want to do, but
Mm-hmm.
you you cannot. You cannot do the same. And so you feel like you're in this what you call a fishbowl, right? Everybody's watching you. Everybody's expecting something from you, expecting you to behave and act a certain way. And so I completely relate to that. And it took me a long time to, go through that. But, if you ever get a chance to look at some of the other recordings and some of my books, you'll see that even after that, I lost my sister,
Right.
who we were like, that was my best friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just when I thought, okay, I'm processing, hiccup, boom, right? And you, it's something about, and this is what the Lord shared with me then. Um, parents, even though it hurts, but the nature of things that you do lose your parents before you go, right? I mean,
Right.
it's parents and then is you. So that's the natural order of things. So although it hurts, something about a sibling is completely different, because it's like you all are the same, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
pain hit completely different. And that pain had me in a place that I had never been in before. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember, and it's not, this interview is not about me, but I just wanted to share this with you and encourage you in this, is that I remember being in a place where I couldn't even pray right. I was just,
Mm-hmm.
nothing was working. I mean, I know the word. I could quote the scriptures, but I just felt like God was way over there and I'm over here, and I didn't understand why. So it took some time of me just dedicating time to God, just me and him, nobody else, shut the whole world out. And I remember God saying to me, I was always here. Your grief was like a wall between you and I. You were so angry, you were so hurt that this was grief. And how you're coming to me is not from a place of faith. You coming to me from a place of fear. And the fear was because I felt so vulnerable all of a sudden. Because if my sister could go, and
Mm-hmm.
she was very young, I felt the same for myself. So just hearing you, it's like it brings back so many experiences that I too have experienced. And I just think, I'm so glad that you realize that there is a void that you were missing, because you can get everything. People can have as much money as they want, but you've seen so many celebrities and so many people who have so much, people who do everything for them, but yet they fall to drugs, right? They're like drinking themselves to death, or they're dying really young because they have had a drug overdose. And people are asking, why would they commit suicide? Why would they, have a drug? They have everything. They have
Mm-hmm.
everything they want. But the
They
truth
don't
is,
have everything they need.
they don't have everything. Look, it's like being extremely thirsty and never drinking water, right?
Yeah.
You need it. You need it. So I absolutely understand what you're saying and can relate very much to what you're saying. So I appreciate you sharing that, because someone needs to hear that. Someone needs to understand that, you can get as many degrees as you want. You can make
Mm-hmm.
as much money as you think you ever could imagine, and still there will be this void in your life. And what happens, unfortunately, because you had what we would call a good foundation, you knew to go back to the church. Someone else who did not get that foundation, they're looking everywhere to fill
Mm-hmm.
that void.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Am I right?
I really recognize that, because, and that is why normally in conversations I say to people, as hard as it was, I am thankful for it,
Yeah,
because if you have something to go back to, if you have a standard,
yeah,
your it is easier for you to do that reset. It is
yeah,
easier for you to put on your boots, walk through those trenches, and
yes.
be better for it.
Yes, 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 yes. You have to have something, some, it doesn't take even a much. It's like if you allow him to just a little bit, it's like the scripture says, like a deer that's panting for water. Like you're gonna always need, and I'm looking, what is it, and it's that nothing ever will replace that in your life. So let me ask you about your projects. Let's talk about those. Is any of this passion that you have in your project? For example, we know about educators rise voices of change with Dr. Heather Robinson, but let's talk about, is this your project, your own project, beyond the classroom? Is this yours, or did you share this project with someone as well?
So I am a co-author on Beyond the
Okay.
Classroom as well. So those were two projects I did.
Okay.
Um, So when we talk about beyond the classroom in particular, we are not saying that you're leaving teaching or that you're leaving the education field, but
Mhm.
as educators, you have
Mhm.
to have that master's, that specialization master's degree. So
Mhm.
what the whole idea of beyond the classroom, and the further name is to teach or not to teach, it really looks at what are you going to do as that educational professional with those multiple degrees. You
Okay.
may be a science teacher, but you have maybe your degree in microbiology. Are you just
Okay.
going to teach, or are you going to work for a lab, or what are you going to do to reach that goal, that freedom number that
Right.
we talk about, so, and if you're familiar with the freedom number is basically that number that you would need to make to live comfortably, whether that is, having two cars, being able
Mhm.
to go on two vacations a year, paying your mortgage, your bills, and so on.
Mhm.
What is that number? And then you look at what you are making for your 9 to 5, and
Mhm.
then by extension, what can you do extra, or what
Mhm.
what more can you do to reach that freedom number in order to support your family?
Okay. So it's for example, so what you're saying is, beyond the classroom is, it's still educators who've come together. You have different levels of degrees, and it's not, and I think that's important because I'm not one for having a degree or experience. I once again, I hate to keep taking it to church, but I kind of feel like you had to wear many hats. So that's just what you do. And so although I have a degree a degree in criminal justice, and then I have a master's in pastoral studies. I'm just making sure that I'm covering all these areas, that one way I can still minister, right? Because I have this master's, but also I can be able to financially take care of myself. So I guess it's saying that you guys have multiple uh interests based upon your experience. This not in the classroom. Like, you're not just going to use your education, your experience in the classroom, but you go outside the classroom as well. Is that a
Correct, correct. That is the whole idea. Just using what you have and
Mhm.
recognizing that your knowledge, there is
Mhm.
someone out there that is willing to pay for what you know.
Oh, that's
And
absolutely true. Yeah.
there is someone out there that needs your help.
Yeah.
And they throughout my I was in a meeting about 2 days ago. We were talking about, job interviews and resumes and so on. And I said to people, and I say this to people all the time, you
Mhm.
would be surprised the level of help that some individuals need. you would
Mhm.
also be surprised at the fact that although something as simple as Google is
Mhm.
free, a
Mhm.
lot of people underutilize Google and they don't know how to use it. So
Right.
in my life on a day-to-day basis, based on the groups I'm in and so on, I get some questions
Mhm.
posed in the groups, and I'm like, but do these guys know that they can simply copy and paste that question into Google?
Right.
And the fact that Google is now embedded with the whole AI system, it will give you
Mhm.
the full write up.
It will.
So, it is about looking at your skills and looking at how you can monetize on your skills within the
Okay.
classroom and even in the classroom itself. And remember, you start as a paraprofessional or a teacher assistant. Do you
Mhm.
go on to be that teacher? Do you specialize in special education? There's so many
Yeah.
certifications without teaching. And then also you move up into like being an assistant principal, a principal, a district
Right.
leader, and so on. So really curating that pathway for optimal success for you and
Mhm.
also your family as well.
That's good. The reason I was saying what I was trying to say before is because I know a lot of individuals. It's not. I'm gonna say this. That is appealing for some, but some people are literally wired just to do this. Like, they don't
Hmm.
see anything else.
Stay in one lane. Stay in
That's
one lane.
that's it. That is literally it. And that took, just experience for me to understand that, you know, with you or me or someone else, you might just say, okay, this is just not enough for me. It's nothing
Hmm.
wrong with that. I
Hmm.
literally I couldn't sit here if I wanted to. I would bust out the seams. I mean, that's just how, what is put into you. But someone else, they literally, I don't see past this. What are you seeing? And so
No,
it's
what
it's
I
important to know your
respect.
audience. It's important to know your audience and to know who will be receptive, and then those who do not and literally cannot see that and really don't get it. I've learned, this is just my experience, is that I would just, well, thank you for your time, and I move on. I don't meditate on those because you're gonna miss those who really have that desire to learn how to, take whatever resources and skills and experience that you have. It's gonna always be someone that just don't want it. They don't want to go past that street, that light, that anything.
Yeah, and I totally understand where you are, what you are saying, because there is something in leaving or letting people stay or meeting people where they're at. But I also believe sometimes you have to challenge people, and that is where you have to curate and to create positive relationships. So you have to challenge people to be better and to do better. So I'll give you a prime example. I
Okay.
have a friend who, for many, many years, was a teacher,
Hmm.
but life happened and so on, and she wasn't able to move forward to get her certification. And she, just like how friends are, they taught you in 2004, oh, I want to do something, and then
Right.
you give them the blueprint and they go their way, but they never get to it. And they taught you in 2005 and 2006.
Right.
And finally she recognized what I was saying, and she decided she said, you know what, let me take the steps that you are recommending.
Right.
And so much so that we had a like a women's group meeting.
Hmm.
And when she spoke, she was, yes, I met Shannel and da da da. She spoke, you know, great about me. And I was like, oh, in my mind, I'm
Right.
saying, oh, so she finally gets it. She finally
Yeah.
understands. But I
Yeah.
do believe there is something, is letting people be what they want to be,
Right.
meeting people where they're at. And the
Right.
truth is, some people can only do what was given to them, or that first thing that they landed on.
Right.
But in addition to what you're saying, I believe that in pouring into others, Sometimes we have to recognize when to pause,
You have to.
and we also have to recognize when their issues are overflowing into us, and we
Absolutely.
have to pour into ourselves, and we
Absolutely.
have to empower ourselves, because
Yes.
one of my very very favorite quotes, and you of course you know it, you cannot pour from an empty cup.
Right.
So
Right.
there is no value in
Hmm.
going out there and curating and creating these experiences, and assisting persons or whatever. Your life is in turmoil, so
Right.
you have to work on yourself and continue to work on yourself,
Right.
and then everyone will be better for it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm.
I think over the years, a lot of events that I was, going to, and there were times that the Lord would just, tell me, this is an assignment. So you do it and you leave. And then there were times that I knew that this is just not for me. So you just have to know what I look at. I mean, you could call it what you want to call it, but for me, it's assignments. And so I even look at people that way. There's lots of people who have come into my life, and they would just, because I have an ear to listen, they would just dump, 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 dump. At the time, I didn't know how to handle that, right? So I was completely overwhelmed with being dumped on. I mean,
Hmm.
it was like every day, all day, just you know.
Right, right,
And
right, right.
it took me to experience what happens when you keep getting
Hmm.
dump on, for me to
Hmm.
learn to, you know, create boundaries and make sure that, I'm going to help you, I'm going to listen, but your problem, my kids make fun of me, but because my kids are now grown, and so I like to say your fire is not my fire. you know, I would love to just go out and solve everybody's issues, but realistically, I cannot do that. I'm not God. So I'm
Correct.
human. And so my body, my mental health, my physical health, it only could take so much. So I can't overextend myself, because as you stated, if I overextend myself, I do myself no due diligence and
Correct.
being neglectful to myself, then I won't be there for you anyway. So
Hmm.
we have to make sure. And you know what? I'm gonna let you go, but as women, and especially as a mother, it's often very hard to do that, because we put everybody before ourselves. So for me, it's my children, it's my husband, it's everybody, and then it was me. And so, it comes to a place in your life where you have to find a balance to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, even if it's like, I'm just gonna, put my headphones on and soak for a couple of hours. Like whatever it takes to take you. I'm gonna read this book and nobody bothers me. Like, whatever it takes for you to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, then you're just gonna have to do it. Because if not, over the years, just giving, 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 pouring, pouring, pouring out, and never getting anything back in there, it's gonna show.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, that really is important. And then tying into the other book, DEI Educators Rise
Yeah.
as well.
Mhm.
That specifically looks at, special education, and looks at curating that experience for those students who have special needs. And
Okay.
if you know about the whole history of special education and so on, believe it or not, there was a time that none of this was possible. So there was no IEP, there was no individual education plan, there were no services provided for students. You know, many of our parents were not evaluated.
Right.
Many people were misdiagnosed. Some
Mhm.
people were just deemed as being mentally ill. So it
Yes.
took a lot of work to get us to the stage where there is special education teachers in the schools,
Right.
and also there are resources in the school,
Right.
right? But now we're in a stage now where, because of the political
Yeah.
issues that we're having now, we are hearing that, you know the funding,
Right.
you know, might be cut. They're wanting to stop certain programs, transfer education um, to a different department. So it is really about advocating for the need for those services for students. Because if we are going to create a culturally responsive, a holistic space, then we have to recognize that we have a diverse population,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to recognize that students have multiple disabilities, and therefore they must be provided that space to be able to learn. And believe it or not, we live in a space where even a student's home language is attacked. So we have students who come and maybe can't speak English, and
Mm-hmm.
even at school, while they're trying to learn that English, you
Mm-hmm.
know they're told not to speak their home language.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are going to and even if you think back, the way how you learned,
Mm-hmm.
you were comfortable in a
Mm-hmm.
classroom. If you think back to that first day in school, you went to school all bright-eyed,
Mm-hmm.
all happy. But when you sat in that first classroom, you were looking to be seen, you were looking to be heard, and you were looking to be understood. And that went throughout your school life. And
Yeah.
therefore, if we are going to provide a space for our students, we have to stop politicizing education,
Right.
and we have to create experiences and programs for students to be successful. And in addition to that, you know, I'm not sure if you know, but I'm Black.
Me too.
And so in education, I really believe that Black representation matters.
Yes.
And in a lot of spaces, students not only don't have Black teachers, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't specifically have Black male teachers. And a
Right.
lot of times we are victimized,
Yes.
and we are, put in spaces which are unhealthy for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to deal with microaggressions, we have to
Mm-hmm.
deal with racism,
Yeah.
and the whole gambit of things that surround education. So
Yeah.
not only do you have to even fight to get that certification, but then you have to fight to keep your sanity and within the job that you're in.
Yeah.
And so it's all about looking at creating that space for students, but also creating that space for Black representation, and
I
also
love it.
for special education teachers, and also for creating spaces and experience for students with special needs.
I love that. Love it. Thank you so much, Chanel. Listen, I learned a lot over this period of time talking to all of you guys that worked on this project. So I appreciate that so very much. I say it every time I talk to you guys because I really do. I listen and I've learned a lot and how important this really, really is. And it was just so weird to me that the timing that that when she brought it out, everything began to unravel at that time in what you all were doing, and just I just couldn't believe that what was going on. So thank you so much. I can definitely hear the love and the passion and why you're doing what you're doing. So as we are summing this up, do you do speaking engagements? Do you go to other places and talk about what you do and how important it is, especially now in this climate, in this environment? Are you doing that?
So yes, I
Okay.
do, and I just want to let everyone that's going to watch this know I am available.
Okay.
You
Well,
know,
let them know how they contact you. Let them know how should they
yes.
contact and reach out to you in regards to speaking engagements.
Right. So I am available. I am easily found on Facebook, Shannel
Okay.
Williams.
Okay.
You reach out to me, or you can follow me on, and again, I'm easily found on any of the social media handles.
Okay. Okay.
You can also call me at 646-714-5785. 3506.
Okay. Do you have an email that you use for this? Or
The email, yes, you can email me at ssw. Let me get the email for you very quickly.
okay, I caught you off guard.
Not really. It's just normally I don't share, to be honest, I don't share the email. Most people call me.
Okay.
Oh yes. So the email would be sswlis@consultant.com.
Okay.
sswlis@consultant.com.
Okay, awesome. So now you know if you, I mean, she has a wealth of knowledge, as you can hear. She has passion, she has a love for what she's doing. And I think that for any, and if you have like church or school or social events, community events, or leadership in education, those type of seminars or conferences, give Shannel Williams a call and or email her and let her know that you're interested in her bringing her journey to your crowd. So as always, it is my honor and my pleasure to be able to do what I do. I love what I do. And Shannel, thank you so very, very much for coming on and sharing your journey with us. It was most impressive, and it was most my pleasure to have you on here today. Thank you all for listening. I love you, but most importantly, remember God loves you most. God bless.